To my far left is Gerald Kinchy, attorney of Sayre, Pennsylvania. Next to me is Vera Scroggins, who is the defendant in this case. And my name is Scott Michelman, M-I-C-H-E-L-M-A-N, of Public Citizen.
And Gerald, can you just spell your last name for us?
K-I-N-C-H-Y.
And thank you for coming today. I think what we witnessed today was an important moment in this litigation about an advocate's right to speak her mind and to document what is going on in her local community. The judge, I was pleased, I think understood some of the very important issues regarding Ms. Scroggins' freedoms and seemed inclined to my thinking, at least to narrow the injunction somewhat, which would be a huge victory for Ms. Scroggins and for constitutional principles of free speech and freedom of movement. So we obviously don't have a ruling today, but I expect one soon, and I thought the judge asked some really good questions and engaged with the important issues at stake in this case. I'd like to open it up for questions.
Would you speculate that this would be settled before a trial date?
I think it's hard to say right now. It depends on it depends on how Cabot negotiates, what position it takes. But we have always been willing to settle this matter in a manner that both respects Cabot's interests and protects my client's rights.
Vera, when you first got this particular injunction, what was your gut reaction and what went through your mind?
Basically, I was just wondering why they even did it. It took them 5 years. I've been doing this for 5 years, looking at sites mostly from the road, also being welcomed by site managers, which I would request to see. This has been going on for 5 years, and if this was such a danger, why is it such a danger now? Why wasn't anything stopped before then, or even any police reports? There was no cease and desist. So they went right to an injunction, and I was surprised that they did that.
Do you think they were trying to silence you?
Yes, I do. I do feel they're trying to silence me because I'm doing so many tours, citizen tours, hundreds of them, and for the past 5 years, showing legislators in particular from New York, from around the world, elected officials besides citizens, that they were trying to make this more difficult for me so that I couldn't do it, or intimidate me so that I would stop doing it.
The defense or the plaintiff, I guess, introduced, said that you were willing to put yourself in danger in order to, speak your mind. Is that true? I mean, what exactly credibility do they have for that? What they were saying?
Well, that's her interpretation. When I said danger, I said I'm willing to be in the danger of Cabot's operations. Cabot is a danger. Cabot is a danger to our community, and I'm willing to expose myself to that danger to show the people in the world what is happening to us in our neighborhoods, next to our homes, on our school properties, on farms where our food is produced. I'm willing to show the world what is going on here, so I'm willing to put myself in the danger of those operations. Not that I am a danger to them.
But not to block that.
And I did not block anything. Those are their interpretations. I did not block any access roads.
What do you say to those people who believe that this is a chance for them to make money, this is their land, and that you're an obstruction to that?
Well, if what you're doing on your land starts to go over into somebody else's property, which is the emissions, we have toxic emissions from these gas sites, we have the contamination of water. I just went to see another family in Rush Township with contaminated water from gas wells. They're within 1,000 feet of the wells. So if they're going to contaminate our water and our air with the infrastructure and with everything they're doing, then it's no longer staying on their property. If you can keep contamination on your property, then do it. If you're able to do that, but if you're not, which they're not, then they have to answer for it.
Regardless of the outcome of this trial, will you ever stop advocating for protection of the environment, for protection of the people?
No, I will not stop as long as I'm able to, because I have to protect not only myself, I live here. I live next to these operations, and my friends, and my family, and my children, and my grandchildren, and future generations. We have to advocate and stop polluting the planet. We have to stop polluting the water, the air, our health. We have up to 200 cancers now in my lifetime, and the cancers keep increasing. Do you think this is not because of the environment that we have polluted and contaminated, not only from this industry, but from multiple industries?
Are you willing to go to jail? if need be?
If I have to go to jail to protect my planet and my life and to expose this industry, yes.
But to be clear, we hope it won't come to that, and Ms. Scroggins has been in compliance with the judge's injunction since October. Cabot has not claimed otherwise, and so Ms. Scroggins has been trying to do what she does, exposing the harmful practices within the bounds of the law as best she can, and I think it's important to recognize that.
Has it been easy to stay in compliance, to do the kind of advocacy that you want to do?
It hasn't been that easy because I first of all have to be all the time watching. Where am I walking? Am I within the right distance? And then if they're talking about a certain amount of feet, I have to watch, I have to count, I have to start counting in the future. That would be difficult. And then also to know who owns the property. Who is it really Cabot here? It has been, there is some difficulty. Plus, I want to be able to expose the families and let them be revealed whose water is contaminated. A lot of families who are afraid to speak. They're afraid to get the neighbors upset with them. They're afraid Cabot will be upset with them. So if I can't go to their homes, that is a difficult thing. I haven't been able to go to their homes and show the contamination. I can only show it from the road. And it's much more powerful to actually be able to go there and see the water replacement, but water buffaloes that they have, the filtration systems that they have, the bottled water that's being delivered to them, and to hear their stories firsthand.
Would you say that them restricting you from going on these certain properties just reinforces your point more that they're doing things that they don't want people to see?
Well, that's what it sounds like to me. Like if you have to go through all this trouble and you want all this kind of 500 feet, 150 feet, all these injunctions, what are you hiding? If your operations are so dangerous, then why are you even near homes? If your operations are a danger to me, why are you even in our neighborhoods? Why are you on school property? Why are you on farms? What are you doing here? You shouldn't even be in this county. This is an industrialization of a whole county. Not only this county, but 39 other counties in the state of Pennsylvania, besides 30 some other states in the United States. If this is a danger, then why are you doing it near us? You saw the fire that went on for 5 hours in Greene County, in Washington County, in Greene Township, just like a couple of weeks ago. The man that was on the site, when that fire and explosion happened, he was incinerated, he was cremated. There was only a few bones left. This is a 27-year-old man. This is not right. If there's homes we have homes within 300 feet of these sites. If there is a gas leak and there's an explosion of fire, these people are toast. Why should we be exposed to this? We have solar, we have renewables, we have solar wind, we have water, we have all kinds of energies that we can promote and use that are not dangerous, that will not kill us, that will not explode, that will not outgas, that will not affect the air, that will not affect our health. Why are we focusing on these dangerous energies? And this company has 540 violations. DEP has 540 violations just on Cabot alone in this county in 5 years. Why are they allowed to be operating? This is an outrage. Any other company in the whole United States, if they have 540 violations, are they allowed to operate? Show me another company in the whole United States. This is giving preference to a certain industry, and we are at risk. All of you are at risk. All of you that live near these sites. This is absolutely unacceptable. This is not what it means to be an American citizen. We need to be protected by our government, all our governments, from the president down to the state, to the local level. We are not being protected. We don't even have enough DEP inspectors. We have 3 oil and gas inspectors for 6 counties in our area, in my section where I am. That is absolutely outrageous for thousands of wells. We are not being protected, and we need to be outraged, and we need to speak up. And that's what I'm doing. And I will continue to show what is happening here to the whole world, which I'm doing. And every time they come and see, over 90% are shocked, outraged, and feel that this is absolutely unacceptable. They do not want this in their nation, in their neighborhoods, on their properties.
On that note, to one of the attorneys, as far as would you like to explain, if you lose this case, how you're concerned about the chilling effect that you mentioned today that it could have on other demonstrators? That's
right. If advocates like Vera are are hit with injunctions, essentially penalizing them and restricting their access to their local community, to their grocery store, their hospital, their friends' homes, it sends a message to other activists. It tells them, you will pay for exposing what is going on at these sites. You will pay for speaking out against the big oil and gas companies. And that's not a message that that the court should be sending. So we've advocated today. We don't think there should be an injunction at all, but to the extent the judge indicated he would be imposing one, we've advocated for something far narrower that would respect Vera's rights and not chill other advocates from their lawful and First Amendment protected advocacy.
How much of this has to do with the actual issue of fracking versus an individual's right, whether it be what's going on in Ukraine, whether it be abortion, whether it be this, any issue?
Well, I think the issues are hard, both issues are hard to avoid in this case. The injunction itself is a concern under constitutional principles of freedom of speech and freedom of movement, but it's impossible to ignore the backdrop that is Vera's environmental activism, and to recognize the chilling effect that this would have on other environmental advocates should broad injunctions be permitted against those who would expose the oil and gas companies and their practices.
Now, in January, they said in court that Cabot proposed to limit the injunction to narrow the scope.
Well, so Cabot has made a number of overtures to us proposing different permutations of the injunction. In fact, they proposed yet a different one today. We've rejected all of those and made counter proposals because they've been still too broad. Now, they haven't been broad in the same ways that the current one is broad, but with the 150-foot buffer, they would keep Vera very far back from the properties she seeks to document. And now the Supreme Court has made very clear that you can't, it's not good enough to have an alternative channel of communication that is somewhere else. If the thing you want to talk about is going on in a particular place, you have to be able to, you have a right to be proximate to that place. Now, this is not the right to trespass. This is the right to be on public roads or lands where she's been invited, and to exercise her First Amendment freedoms. So we think the counter proposals have been too broad.
Asked that we have to leave because the sheriff's office wants to have this area cleared now. So
Okay, let's go.
And I would suggest if you
back.
want the other side of the story, see me. You can talk to a real landowner.
Okay, let's go out back. For those of you who like
I think you need to correct your statement. I think you need to correct the statement you made to the media that I offered you a different proposal. In January, we offered you the exact same proposal that we offered and presented in court today. So you're telling this media that I gave you a different order, a different proposal. It's the same proposal. So be careful of the statements that your understanding is incorrect. You're her counsel. I sent the order to Mr. Kinchy, and you're giving a complete different story, and you're misleading these people. You need to tell them the truth. It's the same order.
I told them the truth.
It's the same order.
You sent us an order in
January.
and you sent us.
It's the same order that I proposed
you
in court
said
today.
earlier this week that you referred to your second amended complaint. But that was different than what you proposed in court today. That's all I'm saying.
No, you said I didn't give you the same order.
to the front steps. And to take it outside.
Either out the back or down on the front steps.
You admitted in your brief. No, I said that to you a long time ago. Cabot was never trying to keep her off these properties. I'm sorry.
I think it's difficult to claim that you weren't trying to, that you weren't going for the order that you proposed in October. I mean, my understanding is you wrote that order. Maybe that's incorrect, and correct me if I'm wrong. But if the order that you wrote was the order the court entered in October, is my understanding. And if that's true, then for you to claim you wanted something narrower, if you wanted something narrower, you should have proposed something narrower. Now, we appreciate that you have proposed something narrower, and as we said, we're willing to work with you. We hope something narrower will be entered as a result of today's proceeding, and we hope that we're able to work this out in a manner that respects Cabot's legitimate interests while not trampling my client's rights.
And I understand it, Mr. Michelman, and I believe if you had read our petition and that if you had read the hearing transcript, you would see that we never at one time ever asked to keep Ms. Scroggins off of the hospital or from her friends' homes. It was very specific what we saw in our petition.
Did you draft the order?
It was very specific what was in our petition and what was at the hearing.
Did you draft the order that was entered in October? Do I have that wrong?
I'm going to tell you, it's very simple. Look at the petition and look at what was presented at the hearing.
The order that was entered. Did you draft?
Yes, and the order was not sought to keep her from the hospital or from any of those other places.
It didn't have carve-outs for that. It didn't say no hospitals, no grocery stores, no friends' homes. It said its language was categorical. If you wanted something different, you should have drafted more carefully, and if you didn't like what the court entered, you should have moved to modify it.
Well,
you could have done that in the last 5 months.
As soon as Mr. Kinchy raised that issue with us, Mr. Mike,
That's why we don't want to be
we sent you a very specific proposal, the very same proposal we gave in court today.
And it's overbroad for the reasons I stated.
A very narrow proposal which you rejected many times. So, we'll let the court decide. Thank you.
We'll find another grandma for you to pick on.
Come on back.
Come on back. As I stated, the proposal that we received and have continued to receive from Cabot is a proposal with a large 150-foot buffer, and in fact, in court today, they propose widening it further to 500 feet. 500. So they keep coming up with these large buffer zones that would make it very difficult for my client to exercise her constitutionally protected rights to protest and to document what's going on in these properties. Now, we've taken these offers to our client. We've looked at them carefully, but we believe they're still too broad, and so we're not going to accept something that is overly broad and a restriction on our client's rights by agreement. We think the current injunction is too broad, and hope the judge will modify it. But we're not willing to throw Vera out of the frying pan and into the fire just because Cabot gives us a differently tailored offer. So, I'm not sure why Cabot's attorney is so upset that we rejected her counter proposal. That happens all the time in litigation.
About the bundle of rights, it seems like as a citizen journalist, it was like a no-brainer that Cabot is like taking, where the judge through that preliminary injunction had granted to Cabot some more sticks from that bundle that they wouldn't be entitled to under lease. Could you comment a little bit about the arguments that you made in court regarding the bundle of rights, leases, and the differential between like a landowner being able to walk and somebody else, like Vera, why should she be different from the landowner?
Right, it's important to recognize that landowners have rights too, and just because landowners have leased the area under their property to Cabot for mineral extraction doesn't mean that the landowner gives up his or her rights to live on his or her property, invite people in, walk on the property where it doesn't interfere with Cabot's operations or isn't actually on Cabot equipment. So what's important and what I think the judge indicated that he understood today was that the landowners have rights too, and that an injunction with these buffer zones, these 150 or even 500-foot buffer zones, would cut into the landowners' rights to exercise their property, because the leases Cabot has are limited leases. They include the right to extract the resources and to take all steps necessary to do that, not to take over the landowner's property. And I hope the judge understood that.
And Ms. Scroggins, would you explain or tell us what compels you, what drives you to continue on?
See this water right here? Do what you can to keep it safe, pure, and uncontaminated. I want clean water. I want to drink clean water till the end of my life, and for my children and grandchildren and everybody else. This is what compels me, besides the air. I want to breathe air that is not toxic with all kinds of VOCs and chemicals, and I want water that's free of chemicals and methane and anything else that is toxic.
And are you satisfied with today's hearing?
Yes, I'm satisfied with today's hearing, and I hope that the judge will do what's the best for citizens in this county so that they can continue to document without being restrained and given a difficult time to do that.
Do you think that the restrictions that are being put upon you as a citizen journalist should be put on all journalists? Do you think you're being treated unfairly?
Well, it's just on me at this point, so I feel I would like to have the same freedoms as any journalist or any citizen, actually. I wouldn't like to have any restrictions except for obeying the no trespassing signs.
So do you feel that you're being singled out?
Well, definitely I'm being singled out. They want me specifically to have special restrictions, and this way it'll make it more difficult for me to document and show the properties and show people what's happening to us.
One for Gerald. Have you ever seen anything like this in these courts around here?
Not here.
Broad injunction?
No, no. Very unusual.
Speaking nationally, I would say the same.
The prosecution's attorney made mention of the privilege of subsurface rights over surface rights. I couldn't really hear what happened at the end. It was very hard in that courtroom. Could you elaborate about that exchange?
So my understanding of the Cabot attorney's position is she. Well, I don't want to characterize her position. The law says that the subsurface right is the right to the minerals themselves and the right to do what is necessary to extract the minerals. So let me put it in concrete terms. You have a 10-acre property. You lease your mineral rights to Cabot. If Cabot needs to take 3, 4, 5 acres to do its drilling and to get the minerals out of the ground, they're allowed to do that. But that doesn't mean they can dictate what happens on the other 5 acres of the property. We made that point to the judge, and we hope he was receptive.
So if anybody
that they were referring to a situation where subsurface rights are separated rather than a lease. 2 ways. Might have been referring to some law which is when they're separated.
Well, what's interesting in this case is the Cabot has essentially disclaimed in its papers any reliance on the language of the specific leases. They won't provide them. They say they're not necessary. They just want to rely on general background principles of Pennsylvania law. And those principles are very clear. They have been for over a century. And those principles state that the landowner still owns the surface of the land and only gives up possession to the extent necessary for the gas company to get the gas.
One more lawyer.
Other questions?
Who is representing Cabot?
From the law firm of Fulbright and Jaworski. The woman's name who was lead counsel is Amy Barrette. I believe it's Barrette, but I'm sure she will correct me if that's wrong.
Who was the other 2 counsels? Do you know who they were?
Jeremy Mercer.
Jeremy Mercer? What's he?
He's a partner of hers.
Okay.
And I believe it was Joshua somebody, but I'm not sure.
Joshua Snyder.
And then there was a Pennsylvania attorney, a Montrose attorney, Raymond Davis, who also presides with them. He was with them at the hearing when I was by myself, and he's here now with the Cabot attorneys. And why he's there, I don't know. And he's also the president of our county bar association. So why is Raymond Davis hanging out with the Cabot attorneys?
Yeah. And I believe I heard some exclusions about Mr. Kemble and his property and you visiting there. Is that true? Were there mention of exclusions?
Yes, we submitted with our brief a declaration from Mr. Raymond Kemble to the effect that he would like to have Vera Scroggins over. He would have her over. She has been there for protest activities and to film, to document Cabot's activities, but for this injunction, he could not because his land is leased to Cabot, and therefore under the terms of the present injunction that was issued in October, she could not go there. And so he, as a landowner, along with several other landowners in the county, made clear to the court that their rights were being impeded.
Do you think these are essentially constitutional issues and that they'll have to go to a higher federal court probably?
Well, I do think they are constitutional issues of freedom of speech and freedom of movement. I don't think they necessarily have to go to a higher court. I was really impressed with the judge's openness to the arguments, and I'm hopeful he'll rule in a way that respects my client's constitutional rights.
Amen.
As to the judge, Vera, was he more receptive today than the last time?
Yes, he was. He was more receptive today as he was listening to the lawyers that were present with me. with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. I have cards if people want them.
I'm supposed to talk to you.
All right. And to contact me for follow-up questions.